Hey guys, welcome back to the General's Workshop. Today I wanted to take an opportunity and go over this tote. So this is the Milwaukee 15-inch Packout tool tote, and this thing is phenomenal. I want to kind of go through a variety of different things with you. Not only do I want to kind of explain that, one, I'm a DIY generalist. I pack it out from a standpoint of just being a generalist, right? Plumbing, electrical, you name it, whatever odd job there is, this is something that for me, I've just learned to kind of toss things in here that serve my multiple purpose, if you will. So although it won't have everything, it'll have a little bit of everything, if that makes sense. I also want to kind of go over a little bit about my DIY playbook. And what I mean by that is, for those of you that are just getting started out, I think this would be a phenomenal purchase for you. I absolutely realize that there are a lot of there are flaws with this bag, but when you look at the fact that this is less than a third of what some of these other pro bags are, I just think this could be a great value. And I'm going to be going over some of the things that Milwaukee totally spaced about, or they just did not situate. And in fact, I've got another video coming up in which I'm going to be going over and taking the top 3 complaints about this bag and totally taking care of those in really not that difficult of manner. So that's going to be just another video probably within the next couple of weeks. I've had this tote long enough now that I feel like I've got a good understanding of it, and so I also know where the weaknesses are, so I can kind of address those things as well. Now, I will also say that there are quite a few things that are pretty unique to this bag that I have as far as some of the different tools. I know one of the things I always get questions on are these things. These are called blanks, and we'll get to those later amongst a variety of the other things that we'll be having in there. And also I want you to know that there's a variety of different layers of organization at which I have. One, you're seeing me wearing this apron. This apron is the primary, this is the first line of defense, if you will, for me. It's got most of what I need on it, right? And when you're in the field, it's nice to be able to have everything right there at your side. Or in my particular case, right, I could grab the saddle tee. Now, a lot of times I have my little 3.5-inch delve square in there, but I'm carrying the saddle tee in there, right? Things on your person so that it's easy to just access, if you will. However, when this isn't enough, then that's when I switch over to this bag itself. And so let's go ahead and let's do this. Let's go through a few of the things. I want to go through what's in it. I want to kind of do a bag dump, if you will, but also show you the locations of everything that I keep them in and why we do that. And then in addition to that, I want to show you the consumables as well, right? Because I think a bag like this not only should have your tools that's going to get reused every time, but it should also have the consumables, the things that you use on a regular and ongoing basis, right? And so let's go ahead. Let's get into that now. So if you're kind of newer, if you will, one of the things to keep in mind when it comes to this particular tote that I think a lot of people overlook is the ability for it to pack out with the Packout. Meaning, I know that we all think about the idea of putting it on top of a Packout to mobilize it, but keep in mind, you can also put this, if you will, on top of a Packout system, but you could lock that in. So then everywhere I go, this is attached to the bottom. And you can actually do that with a variety of different things, whether it's fasteners or whatnot. So just keep that in mind, that that's another layer of organization that you have available. Now, I'm gonna take this out and put those over there. So let's go ahead and just kind of start going through some of the things. One, there's a couple of different things that I think are complaints right off the bat for a majority of people. And that is going to be, one, you have an extreme amount of organization on one side. I think this bag is toted to have 31 different pockets, if you will, right? The ones on this side I find to be functional. I don't mind them at all. But it's the back side that's just kind of an open trough. And I think what you end up finding is that with that open trough, when you go to grab stuff, no matter if it's my hammer, oftentimes you're pulling stuff out with it. So, you know what I mean, for me to get to my tape, right, you have to go through and sift through. So I will say this, my next video, I'm going to be addressing that very specifically. At least that's one of the things. I think one of the other complaints that's been pretty notorious for this, at least for a variety of workers, is going to be the idea it's just totally open. Now, if you're in a moist climate or a snow-driven climate, guess what? just because it's raining or snowing doesn't mean you get to not work. You still got to go to work, and there's no moisture relief in this, meaning there's no holes in the bottom. So if this thing starts to fill up that bottom, it's going to hold an inch or two of water, and it's just going to sit there, and it won't drain out. So I've got another solution for that, which we'll take a look at in that next video. But let's go ahead and start kind of going through some of the things that I carry in my pack, and I want to show you specifically how I'll carry them. I don't always carry my little level, but keep in mind that these little straps on the front are designed and made specifically for something of this nature. It just comes around here, those click in, and then you just obviously cinch it up. That allows you to kind of carry it. Now, can it still move back and forth? Yes, but I would just really cinch it down if I'm going to be doing that. Now, keep this in mind, right? That's not going to move, but you have to keep in mind if you're going to be storing this next to another tote or to another Packout, how much space you're going to have. These might be zero lot lines. And so you may not have a ton of space for it, but if you're just carrying the pack, then that can work really well. Another thing that I've really come to like is this is a knife, right? This has basically it has chemical, if you will, etching on the back to allow me to have kind of rasp, so if I need to clean out a joint. But this is a fixed blade knife that has a blunt end that's tapered. So I can use this also, I can use this like a chisel, as well as a fixed blade knife, which I think is an essential to always have on your person, not only for your tools, but for protection as well. All right, so let's move on from that. As we kind of go down the bag, we've got a couple different options when it comes to nail pullers, and honestly just a way to leverage it. Right, this one has a little specialty where you can actually put it right on top of the nail hole, pound it down to kind of clean out the nail hole. And then again, just a way to kind of pry something if you need to get some separation. Now, I've also got a couple of screwdrivers that I keep in here. I'll show you this here in just a second. Let me just kind of go over it and then I'll give you some highlights. But we're going to keep, for me, it is essential to have some sort of a light on you. And I believe that these are an amazing choice. I love one, if you're doing generalist style stuff, oftentimes that's gonna lead you underneath the sink to do plumbing behind a toilet where you need to have somewhat hands-free way to light up your environment. This simply goes around the neck. I love that it's got these articulating heads, right? So I can actually turn this on and have one shining up, one going down, especially if you're at night and you're walking around. This illuminates the ground as well as illuminate what's in front of you, which in my opinion works great. And this new battery technology is fantastic. These you just plug it back in and you charge them, and that works out pretty fantastic. So obviously I've got the longer Milwaukee, and I've got basically just a regular as well as a Phillips. Starting in the back row. Now, I kind of work my way systematically over. I do not like how I have this. This is one of the things I'm going to fix on the other side, but obviously just a square. This is a fantastic one. This one's more for construction. Just keep in mind when you guys get squares that they each have their own specialty. A lot of times they'll do the same, but they'll have a few different functions that makes it a little bit more applicable for you. Now, as we kind of move on over in the bag, you're going to see that I've got a variety of different hand tools, right? So I've got some cutters here. And again, these are all in very specific places for me so that I can get back to them. But one of the things I don't like is that when you're working, you're obviously there, you're in the moment, you want to be able to do quick grabs. I don't always like to set mine down on the ground. Now you might say, well, why not? When it's wet out, I don't like to get my tools muddy. I don't want to get them all wet, if you will. Now you're saying, well, if it's raining, aren't they going to get wet irregardless? Well, yes and no. I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be fabricating a full cover that goes over this that's packable, stowable, and super easy for at least keeping this clean, if you will, from moisture, but as well as dust and debris and sawdust, specifically when you're cutting on the job site. Now, I also have a couple of vise that I keep right here in these first two sections. I keep two different sizes, not necessarily because these two sizes, well, they give me a little bit of variety, but more importantly, I'll oftentimes find myself using two at the same time. Now, as you move over, I got just a generic pair of pliers. I love me some needle nose, always have. And then if I'm doing anything with electricity and I need something as far as stripping or whatnot, I've got these cutters here as well. Now, as I'm kind of moving over, I've got channel locks. Where's my other channel? Then an adjustable wrench. It's going to be right over here, as well as some scissors. You'd be surprised how much you actually use scissors, right? I wanted to get a clean cut off of my butyl tape when we're up doing kind of some of the roofing. This worked great. But again, there's so many different applications for that I think you should consider that. Also, I've got a little torpedo level. I know that I've got that 24-inch level, but I've also got this little torpedo level that has a magnetism, so that will actually stick. I find that to be awesome. And then, of course, I've got a putty knife, which I think is going to be just a great general all-purpose type of tool, as well as what I love is the Milwaukee fastback right system that has a carpenter knife, but it's also got a deployable bit or a hex that gives you a slotted screw as well as a Phillips. And don't forget that this is a 1/4 inch. So if a lot of the processing that you do on appliances, whether it's the back of a refrigerator, a washer, those fasteners oftentimes have hex heads that are 1/4 inch. This will work. Just take the bit out and you can use that as well if you don't have a 1/4 inch bit in your system, which you should. All right, so this works well. Let me put this back down. Okay, so that goes in here. Now let's kind of turn ourselves over to the side of the bag, if you will. So on this particular side, there's a couple of things that I would say are absolutely essential. One, so this is actually the same attachment. You can get these. These are pretty flat. They don't add a lot of weight to your kit or to your Packout. And this allows you to just kind of retain your gloves when you're not using them, okay? And so this works out great. I prefer the fingerless. I actually need to get a new pair. These ones you can see are already worn through. But I love these. It still gives me the dexterity, but allows me to, when I have things that I need to add protection, I'll lift with the palm as opposed to my fingers, obviously, and then it just saves me as far as that's concerned. Let me put those over to the back. And this is simply nothing more than just that. See how flat that profile that is? And it just Velcros right on. So I love having those. I have that on my real world kit as well. And so now, some of the things that I think are a little bit more, I don't want to call them unique, because these bit holders are something that I think is not necessarily new, but I do think that for a lot of people who are just starting off or whatnot, these are actually new. Now, let me explain the genius behind these. First and foremost, I think that one, if you're on a job site, and a lot of times people will carry like a single driver or impact or whatnot, this allows you to take and clip it onto your belt, right? So then I've got access to all of these bits at one time. Now, you might be thinking, well, why don't I just get one of the ratcheting ones, the multi-bit screwdrivers? And I think that's great. Here's the only difference or only challenge I have with that is I would use that as a last line of defense. Like here, I've just got one screw I have to do. But as you already know, after a few screws, your arm's gonna start kind of petering out. And especially if you have to do this all day, every day, you are not gonna sit there and ratchet on. See what I mean? That's getting fixed. All right, so obviously I've got this. I could take any one of these out and I can utilize it on the job. And I would actually say oftentimes I will take this one, I'll pop it on my belt. So then right there in the moment, if I have to go, let's say from a T15 head and I want to switch over to a square, you know, for whatever reason, or I think they call it a Robertson, then I can flip that out just like that and I'm ready to go. Quick, smooth, easy, super convenient. And flip that to your belt, and then at the end of the day, flip it back and you're done. And you've got all of that bit right there. You don't have to go looking for it, etc., etc. And again, the other one I would say is this particular bit that Milwaukee makes. I love these exchangeable heads. Why? Because for me, I have found in my experience that oftentimes the bit head is going to switch between a 5/16, which is this one, or a 5/16, and then a 1/4 inch. So these two just allow me to flip it over like that to switch between those. And then it's also a magnet as well. So it kind of holds the bit pretty well. Now, a couple of the things that I think are kind of unique. I've never seen this on someone else's pack, but for me, I do not want to be carrying a ton of fasteners. Oftentimes, if I'm doing a generic task and I'm going off to the side or whatnot, I'm not going to be bringing everything with me. Now, what if you don't know what you need yet? Well, that's where this comes in handy, okay? Now, obviously, if I know what I'm doing, I can bring a pack of it. That's a different story. But I'm saying a generalist, like if I just bring this, well, then I have a few different, obviously, fasteners. Now, you can see inside of this, I've got construction screws. These are T25s, and these actually hold a variety of different screws. Now, I've only got a few in there, and I realize that for a lot of applications this isn't enough, but I also realize that for 80% of what I'm doing, if I'm going to do 1 or 2, that's all that I need. I just have to remember to fill at the end of the night, right? In this particular one, I've got some T25s, and these are 3-inch. Snapdragon. So I've got those that go back into it. Now, the only thing that you're going to have to put up with is just this idea, this concept of like, when you go to put them in, you can't overfill it. Otherwise, they're just not going to go back in there. And you have to almost do 3 of the heads up, 3 of the heads down to kind of make them fit, if you will, within the radius of this. Now, for those of you wondering, well, what in the goodness green earth is this? This is, here, let me take so you can see it. This is what they call a blank. This is a water bottle blank. We have a local bottling company here in town, and this is what they purchase. They then hook it up to a machine. It heats this portion of it right here, and then they have a machine that blows air into it, and it expands to the shape of the water bottle that they want to make those large bottles. But in its form like it is now, this is an extremely thick-walled system. No nail is ever going to protrude out of this, all right? So that allows me to put these screws in there without having to worry about them coming out. And again, I've got a variety of different ones. I've got these ones here. These are more of the washer head, the ones we'll use for like roofing. This will have like self-tapping screws. I've also got some self-drilling type screws. I even have, this is probably the one I use the most, honestly. This is like an inch and a quarter black phosphate screws. And these just fit in these slots so incredibly well. And then, of course, the other thing is you'll see I actually have one of them. It's a smaller blank, but this has all the powder in it for my, where is it? But for my snap line. So this way, I have a blue one for the snap line, but that goes in there really well. That goes there. These go here. I'll put those back in a moment. But that kind of just goes over a little bit of those. Now, I honestly, with this one, I went to the company to ask if I could get some of them. And what's interesting is my son works at a company right next door. One day, they were throwing these out by the box. No clue why, but guess who got a box? This guy, Blake Sheldon. I'm getting this from you. All right, so there's that. Now, the other thing that I think is interesting to have on is I know that they've got this here, and this is designed to hold a variety of different tapes. Now, I carry blue tape and I carry basically electrician's tape right here. The other thing that I carry is this hanging strap. This to me, this is the galvanized, but this is galvanizing hanging strap. Now, whether you get the plastic to me is essential in what I do. I use this so much. Now, you might think, well, I can't fit this through that, which is why you'll actually see me. I've got this little tethered cable that goes with it. Let me show you what this is. So if I just, it's just simply a screw mechanism that comes off here, and that allows me to go through, and it's nothing more, if you will, than like this. And this head, just like a lot of necklaces or bracelets, whatnot, it goes like that, and that forms that. You can use this for keys. There's a variety of different things that you can use this for. I use it to secure my hanging strap up with it, but I also have it so that I can use it for a variety of different other things if I needed to latch something temporarily. This just comes in really, really, really handy. So let's just thread that back through, put that through here. And I have it high enough so that when it's hanging, so I'll put this up, and I'll actually, oftentimes I'll put it through here, right? Notice then it's not hanging off the ground. Specifically, right, you're noticing a pattern. I don't want things hitting the ground for a variety of reasons. One, when it's raining, I don't want all my stuff getting all muddy. I don't want my tape, my hanging strap. I don't want any of that stuff getting muddy. So I keep that there. Now, let's also do that. So let's kind of flip to the backside. Here's one of the primary complaints with this particular tote for a lot of different individuals is going to be this back section. Why? Because it's just an open area, right, that you have to be very intentional about using. Now, again, if I wanted to get to certain things, I'd have to be like, oh, let's take this out. I don't want to be unloading it every single time. That's why I have a really interesting concept that I'm going to be doing with Kydex. Are you guys familiar with Kydex or ABS plastic? ABS plastic is what you could buy at Home Depot. Kydex is a different form of, basically it's like a thermogenic molding material. I've seen, oh, gosh, what was his name? Delvin Custom Cabinetry. He had made these little 1/4-inch space kind of plywood dividers. And I love the concept, although I'm going to try to upgrade it. And here's why I say upgrade it, because one, it was untreated, so it's going to be dividers that I feel will wear and tear pretty easily. So for me, I'm going to be utilizing a sheet plastic, if you will, or a Kydex. Kydex is it's basically the similar stuff that you see a lot of the holsters for guns, magazines, tools, etc. use. So I'm going to be utilizing that to create dividers. Two things that I want to do is I want to create an area for my hammer to stand up, okay? So it's kind of out of the way, if you will. Now, this is more of a multi-purpose hammer. It's a 12-ounce. This thing does great for me. It's not huge. I do have a 21-ounce and a 19-ounce, but those stick up way out to here. And with the system I'm going to be doing for the coverage, I needed it to be kind of below this level. And honestly, this 99.9% of the times, this does exactly what I needed to do. So, hammer. Flashlight, we already talked about. I always carry an impact. I don't like having to set this down, so I am going to come up with a system that's going to replace some of these rivets that I'm going to be hanging this with a little bit of a, where'd it go? I've still got some of these, you've seen them, like the little hangers. I use them all the time. I'll show you one over here, but they basically can clip on because 99.9% of the time, this little bad jobby is exactly what I use on almost all of my stuff. So I want to have it accessible when I'm using it. Again, if I don't want to set it, keep in mind, I don't mind setting it on the ground, but I'd rather be able to have a spot where I can put it in here that allows me to sustain that position but not disrupting the below. Or every time I got to pull something out, then this now has to come out. Okay, with that being said, this is fantastic. A lot of people have the structured ones that go over. This is a breathing mask that helps protect. Goes over, right, just like that. I like it because it's moldable and it can take the shape of the area that it's in. A couple other essentials for me are going to be, I've got these are self-augering wood bits, all right? Some people call it, they call it like a spade bit, but again, you can see on the tips, they've got these little screw-like mechanism, and that is actually grabbing the wood, pulling it as you're going in, because as you know, as you're cutting larger diameter holes, it can be a tough amount of work on your shoulder, and this self-augering, meaning it helps drive the bit through the wood. It just is fantastic. Now, also, Northern California, right, 120 degrees. I carry this on oftentimes if we're doing a floor or whatnot, especially a liquid-based coating where the arch nemesis is moisture. You can't have your drip, you can't have your sweat dripping on the floor, so I wear this to kind of capture that. And then I've also got, obviously, my chalk line that I was telling you about earlier. I keep that in there, as well as 100-foot tape. Now, very rarely I need to go above and beyond my handheld tape, but when I do, this thing is essential. And if you're working by yourself, this one actually has a separating grip that would allow me to fasten it to something, because how many times you're pulling it out halfway through, it detaches. Now you got to walk all the way back, reconnect it. Well, this gives me 100-foot tape and all of that. Obviously, stud finder, very, very important. I do have a kit that I purchased, this is a tourniquet that I keep, and I keep it in the pack so it just doesn't get all the dirt, debris, etc., on it, right? Unfortunately, as we're working with power tools, consider this, there could be a high probability that a limb, an appendage could come off, and a tourniquet, I think, is something that we should have on. In fact, I was going over my organizational kit, and someone else had mentioned that, hey, you don't have a cat tourniquet on there, and I do have a first aid kit, but I did not have a tourniquet in it, which is something that I carry with me, so that if you make a hole, you can plug a hole, as well as stop the bleeding. So the other thing that I have is I carry two different kits with me. I carry one. This is the titanium one. I use this for pretty much everything, as well as having a hole identifier as far as size. I find that to just be helpful. I'm not one of those guys that can look at it and say, oh, that's exactly what it is. You know, my brother Honey Badger is. I'm not that guy yet. So with that being said, I have that in here and I love these. That stays there. And then if I have a harder steel that I need to go through, these are my cobalt bits. Now this one I just purchased. I just got it because I had to replace my other one. But a step bit I think is great to have, as well as these tougher ones. Keep in mind, guys, if you're doing harder steel, these ones here, simply it's a coating. Once that coating is gone, then those things you can't really sharpen those. Whereas these you can. So these I think are just awesome to have around. Now, so these are where some of my consumables are going to be located in the front pocket, right? Keep in mind, there's a pad here for a reason. When you're carrying this over your shoulder, this is the part that's hitting your back. You'll notice that I've intentionally stayed away from putting much on this pack in this moment, other than things that are moldable, malleable, soft, right? In here, I've got about 6 pairs of earplugs for ear protection. I prefer, obviously, the hard ones that you can go over the ears, but I don't always have those. This is just a steadfast to make sure I have it. I've also got 2 pairs of gloves. These are basically just the nylon gloves that I keep in there. And I'll keep a couple different pairs of these in there, the nitrile gloves. I've also got a variety of consumables, meaning I've got wing nuts, red, yellow, blue, some of the variety of different wing nuts. I tend to use those, and they lay pretty flat, meaning I don't feel them, as well as some staples, if you will, for electricity, right? So that goes in there, all right? Those are the things that are consumable. Now, up here, I want to show you a variety of things that I think are important, that I think should be on pretty much everyone's kit. One other tool is a flat, like a scraper. It is true, I carry maxi pads on me. I actually have 2 different maxi pads. These are designed to do one thing, collect blood. Now, I'm just using them in a different mechanism than what they were designed for. But nonetheless, if you're on a job site and you have something that you are not just weeping blood, but you are gushing, this would be a great opportunity, and they hold a significant amount of blood, right? I've seen a lot of people that come to a job site and they have Band-Aids, and I'm like, okay, that's good for like 1% of what's going to take place. But I would encourage you, the maxi pads are so easy, and oftentimes you can get them in bulk, and they make them at a great price because a lot of people use them. I also store a variety of different sizes, and that's in the back here, right? So it does not take up a lot of space. I also store zip ties. I think this is a 6.5 inch, and this is like a 3-4 inch zip tie, and I use those quite a bit as well. So that's exactly what goes in here. Now, let's switch over to the end. Now, you notice what I just did. I had to flip this up. It's on the ground. Do not like that. It is getting fixed in next week's upgrades, which I think I've got a super clever way for doing that, and I'm actually super excited. Now, 2 things I'll show on this side. One, I've got a variety. I've got millimeter as well as SAE. All right, so these just flip over in the switchblade style, allowing me to have quick access. And I do like these because it comes, once it's out and it's kind of deployed, I've got this as the handle to turn. Just makes it a little bit easier, okay? So those go right in here. But the other thing is this here. And actually, I love this new tape that Milwaukee has. One, this is magnetic, all right? But I guess the other thing that I'm not accustomed to is the bottom opening. I used to always get, oh, Snapdragon, it's not even there. Hold on. So I used to get this kind. Why? Because it automatically compresses on this. So once you pull it out, it will not retract unless you push this in with your thumb. All right. Now, it's just an extra step. One, when you're holding a tape, notice what's going on. My finger is already there, and it is always in that position. So this one has it, it only locks when I tell it to. I push that down to depress it with my thumb. But notice this, it's already on there. So when I apply that pressure with my finger. And I can also feather it, meaning put a little bit of pressure as it's coming back in. I see people all the time where they just let it come in and they do that. Don't do that. That is not good for your tapes, right? So you want to make sure that you don't do that, because eventually, right, you all know that this moves on purpose. And if you don't know why, well, maybe I'll do another one on how to use a tape measure later, but there's a specific reason. You don't want to keep expanding the boundaries of that, right? So that your measurements stay as accurate as can, but just over that, and that allows it, right? Versus, right? Notice I can start to feather it. I'm putting a little bit of pressure so I don't have that without having to work my thumb. Because for me, I will tell you, I can do everything I need without shifting my hand. The second I have to deploy my thumb to manually work that, I feel like I have to kind of alter the stance of my palm. It just changes things. Subtle changes like that really add up, right? And that goes on this right here. All right. So guys, again, I will be honest and say that there are multiple complaints that oftentimes people have given regarding this. One is going to be there's just no protection. If I'm cutting in here, or I'm in an area that I need my bag and all of a sudden there's sawdust, this is going to be packed with sawdust. You're going to be carrying home an extra ounce of just stuff you don't want. Water being the same. So I'm hoping next time we can develop some sort of a coverage or rain cover, if you will, that I believe is going to be deployable super quickly, easily, and will make this thing awesome. In addition to that, I want to do a variety of different things. You will actually see, I don't know if you can see this right here, but this is these magnetics that have a little bit of rubber on them. You could grab something, take it like that, and if you're working, you can grab it again, and it's super easy to just put it on. I'm going to do a variety of those along here to help adapt it. Why? So that when I'm working with something, if I don't want to have to put it back in, and I realize this is a small step, but it does matter to me, is I want to be able to kind of just take it, click it, and it's going to have. Now, obviously, I could do some sort of like a magnetic bar across there, but I'm likely going to end up doing a couple of different smaller ones in conjunction with adding another, well, you see one of these. I don't know what they actually call these. I think these are just kind of tape hangers, but I'm going to do one of those on this side, all right, for, where'd it go? Oh, here we go. I'm going to take out these two rivets. I think I'm going to put it in kind of like this so it can kind of hang there. So again, this is something that I deploy often, so I want to have that accessible. So we'll be going over a little bit more of that next week. So do me a favor, click this video here if you want to see all those upgrades. We're going to talk about 5 different upgrades that I think are going to be phenomenal that you're going to want to check out. Today's focus, again, was more so just to give you a tour of the bag. But again, check this out up here. And hey, don't forget to give me a like, or if you guys haven't considered subscribing. It really does mean a lot to a smaller channel like mine. But thanks for hanging out, you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Shoot dang.